Welcome to Revlog, where two legs of the three-legged table are still
it was so good
here.
last week, we had to have you back.
So we're glad to be here, glad to be with you guys. And we're looking at Ephesians 14 through 21, just an amazing prayer of Paul. Is rich and deep and wide and high.
Yeah, that's right.
All those words, but just the language and the thought is just extravagant. And so, Aaron, what are your initial thoughts and impressions?
Well, I a couple weeks ago in youth choir rehearsal, we were talking to the kids and we were just talking through reverse and things and what they get out of worship. And I said, okay, guys, let's just name it. What is the best part of worship service? I mean, I knew going in, and it's the children's sermon. Let's be honest. It's what everybody's going to walk away with, having some nugget and kernel of truth. And I just love how Pastor Jimmy has sculpted really over just the last summer, and he just is so thoughtful and creative, and I love Pastor Jimmy's heart there. But with this idea of the immeasurable love of God, that and a few weeks ago when we had the Mariana Trench there, and you could put Mount Everest in there and still cover it with a mile of water, and that's
school buses.
And school buses, 1,000 school buses.
Yeah.
Thank you. But just to think that even that incomprehensible size of a depth of ocean doesn't touch God's love for you is. And so before Paul even gets to that wonderful text about just exceedingly more than you could ever ask or imagine, all that deep and wide and all those things, he makes sure that he establishes, I'm going to pray for you, but the name under which I pray for you makes all that at the end of the prayer possible. Let's be clear that all that flowery language, all that wonderful imagery is possible because the creator of the universe can speak anything into existence. And he understands far more deeply, far more truth than anybody else that you could speak to. He gets it. And so to him, I'm going to pray. To this guy, I'm going to pray. And then beyond that, blessing upon blessing can come into your life because we've first of all acknowledged to whom we are speaking.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Bryan, what's your initial thought?
Before we started here, I was just kind of playing around that, I'm praying for you is a paraphrase of this passage. Praying for you. But Paul, it's almost like Paul says to follow on the heels of your point, Aaron. It's almost like Paul is saying, what you're facing is so important and hard and perhaps even dangerous or threatening, of great concern to you. It's so heavy that I'm going to take this to the mightiest person I know. And there is some implication of empathy there that Paul gives, that's not simply praying for you, and I know that sometimes that's meant to be empathetic, when people say that, but he doesn't just roll that off. Mm-hmm. He says, you are facing things that are really expansive and very, very complicated. Yeah. And I feel it too. And for that reason, I'm turning to the most powerful person that we all know. Yeah. And that's God.
It's a very humble approach. That I don't know that I have the answers.
Yes.
And the solution to the context and climate that you're in, but I know who does.
Right.
And I'm going to call his name.
I'm right.
And
I'm going to go
with him.
advocate for you.
Yeah.
I care about it too. It's not a
handoff.
It's not at all.
But
he's not divesting himself of responsibility. He's saying, let's go. I'm going to take that in a sacred trust, and I'm going to take your burden and go to the Lord with this. Yeah. And we'll see what happens. And I don't know what is going to happen, but we're going to see
Yeah.
together what the outcome of that will be. And it's a journey. It's kind of a struggle.
Yeah.
But Paul takes that seriously because he takes God seriously,
Yeah.
and he conveys that. He doesn't just say, "Okay, I'll pray," but this is my understanding of who God is as I take this to Him. And so it's a very connecting way of speaking to the congregation that Paul loves so much, and it's also a very hopeful way of looking at God that Paul conveys to them.
Yeah.
Aaron, what question
Well,
bubbled up for you?
do I take prayer this seriously? Just, I mean, your paraphrase, praying for you. I think sometimes and I don't want to discount, just quick prayers, or sometimes, just crying out. I think all of that has validity, but I mean, Paul is recognizing the power that is in accessing a one-on-one conversation with the Lord, and just to lay before Him your own burdens or the burdens of others, that you are accessing the Creator of the universe, and he just really just humbly surrenders to that authority, that what he's about to bring, it has such. I care about this so much that I want to do this for you and do I care that much about prayer? Do I take it that seriously? Do any of us? And I think Paul reminds us how powerful prayer can be.
Yeah. Bryan, what about you? What question?
The first actual phone text that I read this morning was from a former youth group kid of mine back around 1910. And it was. I say it was around there. I didn't say it was
Ride
exactly
your wagon to
1910.
church.
Right. Take your blacksmith to church day is what it was. No. And this kid, now a grown man with kids of his own, said, and I hadn't. It had been a while since I'd heard from him, but he said, I pray for you and Linda regularly, and I was praying for you this morning. How are y'all? And it was very moving, actually, to me.
Sure.
And it was so moving that I couldn't even answer him. I waited a couple of hours before I answered him. And it was because I really thought, it really got me to thinking, well, how am I? And well, how are these prayers, how are these prayers? Have I felt those prayers of his? And I think I have, actually, without even knowing them, knowing that he was praying. I wonder how I could love people better through prayer.
Yeah.
That's my question.
And when you're loved like that, you get a text like that that's so sincere and honest.
Yeah.
You want to really say,
Yeah.
this is how you can pray for me.
Yeah.
This is really
you
what.
don't want to just
this
say,
is what's really good.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah, fine.
Love you.
Good.
But doesn't it also remind you of that, if that blessed you, the responsibility then to carry that forward,
Absolutely.
to love others in that
Yes.
same way, just
Yes.
to go, you have been on my mind. I really have taken your name before the Lord, and I want you to know that, or what else can I do for you? It's just that's the kingdom building right there.
It
That
is.
we are sharing with one another each
Yeah.
other's burdens, and that we, so well done.
Well, thanks for being a part of this. We consider it a privilege to share these moments with you, our thoughts and the things that God has laid on our hearts. And so you can do the same. You can comment. You can ask questions. You can even maybe request prayer in the comments, and we would consider it a privilege to interact with you in the comments below on this page. Thanks for being with us.